You gotta turn down that speaker. Hey, welcome to Tech Talk for October. This is a show where you see a bunch of old tech guys talk about stuff.
old tech stuff, or it could be old new tech.
No,
stuff,
old
maybe.
tech guys
Old
talking
tech
about new
guys.
tech stuff.
Well, now wait a minute. Don't talk about Kingsley like that.
Speak for yourself.
He's right here.
What?
What was that? I can't hear you.
Yeah.
No, I'm probably the old guy here, right? Yeah.
I'll let you carry that cross to bear.
Yeah. I look the part. I'm more gray.
So what's going on in the tech world?
Kingsley, you want to start?
What's in the news, or what's the new technology? Because we've always spun this show a couple different ways, and
Right.
we go through some different cycles of the news.
Tech news.
Yeah.
Tech
Tech
news.
news.
For me, I read technology blogs, and I read news that comes in from security postings. And since our last show, there has been an increase in equipment that is attached to the internet, what we call the Internet of Things, and it's devices such as a networked printer, Dwayne's, LG TV, or
TV, light bulbs.
light bulbs, VCRs and DVDs.
Yeah, they get smart so they can stream
DVRs
different
and
services.
Stuff, yeah.
Well, what's happened lately is that they have a number of different ways that they connect, and one of them is that you see the device talking out and it's getting Netflix for you. Some of them have web pages, and you can go with your device, or you can use
Sort of like printers do. They have a default
web
web page that tells it's
One of
current
those types
state.
of connections is something that's pretty nerdy and obscure. And you're a computer person, and you're saying, I want to connect to you via a secure socket or a telnet. Things are getting hacked. And by that, I mean they're being able to go and get control of that device and put a little bit of software code in there and says, wait till I ask you to do something. Someday I'll come and ask you for a favor, and you'll do me a
Yeah.
favor.
Yeah.
And so what happened was a security professional named Brian Krebs had a website, and it was being hosted on some systems. And he wrote about this whole trend of Internet of Things devices getting hacked and being used for, what they call bots being. And so they said, well, we don't like what he said, and they turned all these devices against him, and it was the largest surge of denial of service attacks on any one set of systems recorded in history. It took down the provider of his internet services that was giving him free service because he's a good security customer, and they said, hey, listen, Brian, we're cutting you free because you are impacting all of our paying customers. And they basically shut him down. Well, he wrote about it, and then the very next week, that record was broken again by a French internet service provider. And they say, again, smart TVs, DVRs, printers, home routers, these devices that are now being part of our lives.
Right.
And so you get the recommendations. And I'm looking at this and they go, okay, change your default passwords. My TV doesn't have a password, but maybe this technical back end to the device does. I don't know how to do that, but we discussed a little bit earlier, our TVs go out and update themselves.
Right, automatically.
And
I think the scarier one is it's not necessarily your TV updates itself, but it's the TV that has a camera and the one that listens to you. You know,
Sure.
like the Amazon or the Apple TV where you can speak to it, which in the other way, somebody can monitor your room.
Alexis, is it Alexia?
Yeah.
Which one is it? I can't remember.
Alexis?
Alexis. And we do have that on the Kindle Amazon devices. The Apple TVs now have Siri on them. Microsoft's version of this technology is Cortana, and it's being put into the Xboxes.
Right.
And on the Android side, Google Now,
Google has a
and,
bunch of them.
and Google has a new device that's going in to challenge these other incumbents. And so we've got the big four players,
Yep.
but I trust the big four players to send out updates.
Send out updates and make it secure. You're right.
But
Absolutely.
remember last Christmas we talked about the Internet of Things crockpot that you could operate from your home,
Yeah,
from
I
your
remember
cell
that,
phone.
yeah.
And the soccer game's going along, and you go, I'm going to turn it down a little bit and put it on simmer.
Mm-hmm.
What if your crockpot was part of an attack?
Well, yeah, that sounds really strange, but you could.
Your thermostat.
Yeah, your thermostat, a TV, but the thing that I see now is you can't get anything that isn't smart almost.
Yeah, that's
the whole
where
thing.
that's where the
People accuse
prepper.
me of work.
Well, I mean, you
This-
can go buy a TV, but it's really hard
True.
to buy one that's not a smart TV of some sort.
Yep.
That's
things
where the
like that.
prepper and me, like, I like to keep a vehicle around that doesn't have electronic ignition or
Yeah, something
anything.
like
So
that.
EMPs
yeah.
or whatever, it's going to run.
Right.
And
But you can't find one. You have to go to the
I want
junkyard and
I
build
want a
one of
car that has roll-up windows, not
them.
electric.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
keep all that out of my
Now,
house.
granted, this email came from the state of Ohio, networking security guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking to the security officers on university campuses, and this is pretty technical stuff.
Yeah.
You guys are not necessarily technical at the same level our network and systems admins are. So what recommendations do we have?
Just want to watch Jersey Shore, man.
Well, buy,
What can we tell you?
buy from
Right.
reputable companies that have a recognizable brand name.
It's a good point.
That's as
I
good
like
as
that,
you
yeah.
can do.
Yeah.
Know where your system settings are. It's probably close to where you set up that wireless connection.
Do you think your
And
TV
look
would
for
become?
automatic updates.
Do you
Yeah.
think the TV would become inoperable if you just didn't network it? Take your smart TV and it's like, I'm not plugging that thing in.
I'm not plugging it
You
in.
know, the Ethernet or the wireless.
That's a good point. I think you have to go in and tell it to not
To
do
use?
that, because when I got mine, I didn't plug it in for a while, and it kept annoying me. No internet connection. No internet connection. It would keep coming up. No network connection. No network connection.
Yeah.
And
What if
I'm
I
like,
just want
huh,
to keep it that way?
okay,
you
plug
know?
it in. Yeah.
Did it go through a setup out of the box, and you decided
It
to
did.
to delay and not do that?
Right. I said skip.
Hmm.
There wasn't a I'm not connecting.
Nag me later?
Yeah. There wasn't a no, we're not putting you online.
Sure.
It was fill out this information or skip to later.
Right.
But the default is it wants to call home.
Automatically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't an option for nope, I'm not I'm going old school.
Yeah. I tend to go old school.
Yeah, it does. But it's
my
like I
paranoid
said,
self.
Well, I agree. I also like to play with the new technology stuff too, but
Don't we all?
yeah, but how trying to find one of those old TVs isn't exactly easy. In some cases, and sometimes you'll find them that they're more money. So,
Yeah, I've got 2 vehicles at home. I can still crank start, so,
well, there you go.
What a Luddite.
Yeah.
I mean, I went and looked at my home network after the first
After that?
report of this, and I said, okay, I'm aware of those devices that I probably am connecting to each other. And, I went and I said, scan my network, show me everything that's there, and tell me how it's connected and what channels it's talking on, so to speak, what ports.
What ports?
And I really don't know how to go in there and change those passwords. So
Right,
most of my devices
yeah.
out of the box are reliant upon the manufacturer to keep them updated. Now, my home router, which is what the internet service company puts on your telephone line, on your cable,
first.
on your wireless, you should have access to that.
To that cable modem or
You
modem.
you as the owner should have access to that. And if you want to change that default password, you should be able to change that default
and
password.
you should.
Yeah, I mean, just because the AT&Ts and the Time Warners say, here, we've installed it, it's working, this is how you connect to it, but you can't manage it.
Right.
I'm old school, I want to manage it, and I
Right.
want
But
to change the
there's-
password.
That's happening more and more now, that they don't want you touching it. Just because I've dealt with them here recently, and they don't want you touching it. So how do you fix that? Well, you go and buy your own and sit right behind it, and then you manage that one.
Okay.
That's what
Is
I-
there
that's
is there
what
a
I-
limit
that's what
to
I
things
do.
that you can put in your house? You know, because you got, you know, things that turn
Is
on
there a
your
limit?
lights and your thermostat and Apple TV and, you know, your
don't think there's a
refrigerator and your
limit.
crock pot and all that stuff. Is there a limit to the Wi-Fi things that can connect to your router?
Yes.
Oh, to the router. Okay. Well, yeah,
yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Is
Yeah.
it high or?
Typically, the address space,
Yeah.
the number of numbers that they will assign
Yeah.
dynamically is finite.
Yeah.
And so in my home, I have a network gateway, and it says if there is something inside, it's going to ask, can I have a number?
Yep.
And it is assigned that number, usually starting at 100 and going up to 254.
Yep.
Okay. So
Because,
I'm
because,
just
because the
thinking.
addresses are 254 per block, and so they kind of leave one as being the device itself up to 99, and they start automatically assigning them after
Okay.
that.
I wasn't sure if people would start getting all these things and they get past 10 and it's like, okay, it's not working now.
No,
Probably
and,
not.
And you know, we can get in there and we can change that and we can assign it. I want my printer
Yeah.
always at this address, and I always want this one, and I'm going to reserve that one so that if it turns on, you're going to be guaranteed the same number each and every time. But
Constantly.
And you think it would
are we
affect
going to
your
get
speed?
Are we going to get past 154 devices in
Hope
that
not.
dynamic space?
In your house?
Is it gonna read me and my RFID that they implant in my forehead?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah. in the future,
Definitely.
yeah.
But that's radio frequency. We're not talking
Yeah,
about an
that's
IP
another-
device here.
There's going to be a device that reads that
Yeah.
device is on your network. So.
So in your home, does each light bulb have its own
Yeah.
IP?
Yes.
And so technically, if you
How
have
do
lots
those
of
decide?
Now, I'll take that back. There is two different kinds. You can have individual light bulbs, or you can have a light bulb that reports back to its own router, and then that router has the IP. Okay, so it's sort of
natted
its
inside.
own.
That's
yeah, it's
crazy.
natted inside. It's its own network, and then that router is on your IP space, if you would, or your network that you provide by Time Warner or whoever
the
is your cable
controller has
provider.
one numbers and all the other numbers are make believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
For
internally.
private use.
Yeah.
Then what
Or
happens
you-
when your light bulbs turn against you?
Well, that's a good question. They're to start blinking. So you're going to be like disco time again, you know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because you can buy bulbs now that are different colors that you can change automatically. I don't have any, but I've just got the standard little ones that I'm playing with. But
You want to set your mood or anything?
yeah, you could do that. All that. You can sit there.
So
You know.
how do you know if your home is being part of a botnet and
How do you? How do you know that? How do I know that my devices aren't hacked already? Good question.
my understanding of these types of devices are that if you turn them off and turn them back on again, the power cycle flushes it out because they don't have enough memory to hold that much. It's not like a computer that has a storage space and you infect it, and when you start it up, it runs like a program and it's waiting for instructions. So by turning off devices and turning them back on, they can be purged, so to speak, and they would reset and start up fresh. So one of the preventative measures, turn them off if you don't need them, turn them on when you do need them.
Did you get the house monitor thing on your electric line? We talked about.
We have a light, and they have a subcurrent going back to the substations, and they read it. But I don't have the ability to control my.
Because
and-
we
and I
talked about
haven't-
that at one of those.
I have not
Yeah.
put in Sense yet.
Okay.
It is on my Christmas list. You know, did you ever have a Christmas list where you have to go out and get it yourself because when you hand it to your
Yeah, most
significant-
people don't have a clue
they
what
go,
I want.
really?
Yeah.
Why don't you just you go out and get what you want and I'll get what I want?
Yeah. You go get it and I'll wrap it. That's usually what I hear.
Yeah.
You go get it and I'll wrap it.
But you know,
That way you don't know what box it's in.
I'm sure there was a sci-fi movie or book that I missed that had the theme of when the things take over.
Well, yeah, there is.
And you know, I think in a much larger extent, sense, to extend this, artificial intelligence, that which is in Watson that can win Jeopardy, or be able to diagnose a really obscure medical condition that just would take a lot of data crunching in order to identify.
Yeah, I saw a report on that where, I don't know if it's Watson, that goes through all of the medical journals and catalogs it. And then when you give it a problem, it knows all the journals, and no one can do that.
And I think that's great. That's the part of technology that, to me, so we should have the ability to monitor networks and identify strange traffic.
I agree.
We should have the ability to look for those things that just don't seem right. And that heuristics is what we use for malware detection. I believe, my prediction of the future is that someday those people that are working on technologies will always be just one step ahead, barely a half a step ahead, of the people that are using technology for doing something evil. There will always be a leapfrog of things being out of state where they figured out how to break it and they're going out making money and infecting things and you know, phishing scams and fraud. And we've had the Attorney General's office here talking about, you know, cyber fraud. But we, at some point, as owners of this stuff, have to have a little understanding about what's going on.
I agree.
And you know, we're just the ones to do it here through Tech Talk.
And
Hope we haven't confused everybody
And
today.
people like us who manage, you know, large groups of people,
Yeah.
you know, the students will be bringing these things into the dorm, and you'll have to deal with all
Oh,
that.
it happens all the time.
It was bad enough when everybody started streaming Netflix.
So your cameras, do they send pictures out wirelessly, Wi-Fi?
Not these, but my one
You have a still
DSLR is.
camera, yeah.
Yeah.
So someday,
can.
someday
Yeah, it
do you
can.
expect to look in the viewfinder and see on the little screen somebody that's going, no,
It's possible. Because it connects through to my phone through Wi-Fi, and I can see what's on the viewfinder in my phone,
phone.
and I can adjust the camera through my phone, and I can take the picture through it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice remote. You know, if I want to set it up on a tripod next to like the bird feeder or something, then I can know when it's got a good shot of it and take the picture with my phone.
It's a good idea.
But those things scare me, you know. And you're the first one to deploy it among our group. And
Well, you know, I think we have to try it
Okay.
and test it and not be afraid to if we're going to be in this field of work that we're doing. I think we have to be able to be on that cutting edge and say, well, okay, we're going to try it. We have to be the guinea pigs in some cases.
So
Because people come to me all the time, well, what's your advice on this?
What's
Well,
a good one of those to buy?
Yeah, and if my answer is, nope, I don't know, nope, I don't know, well then pretty soon I might as well find another field of work.
Yeah.
Because,
You got to be the guru.
yeah, you do, I think, no, we're not the guru, we can't be the guru in everything, but you pick your area, that I think anyway, and you kind of stay in there. Like, you know, I'm kind of consistent, you know, PC, Android, follow that step. You're the Mac, the iPhone, that kind of thing, you know. So that's where I think we tend to try to play that edge all the time, you know. So I'm trying to find any of these light bulbs or anything, you know, like that you know, that isn't costing me a fortune, but yet it's probably, if it gets hacked, I'll probably figure it out how, you know, if it did. So that's how I figure out things.
Where
I watch
does
my
manufacturer
network.
liability come in? Is the
Oh,
manufacturer
are they-
responsible and liable for updating devices? Your TV.
I would.
You know,
I don't.
I
Can
go
you
on the
take that
website
into a
and,
court?
and
I don't know.
I start looking for the cheapest thing, and it goes like, why should I buy from
Yeah.
this name brand when I can get something that looks
Exactly.
cheaper? Then you find out that they've abandoned it. It's an orphan device, and it's not getting its updates. It becomes a risk,
Right.
but you can't trace it back to the manufacturer because the manufacturer does not assume responsibility.
Doesn't exist any longer, maybe.
What model phone do you have?
I have a Samsung.
Is it one of those fire in the
No,
pocket
it's not.
models?
Nope.
No,
Nope. It is not a heater.
it's not. It's not a heater.
Yeah, that was one thing that,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't like. I think Hillary actually supports unlimited liability. And that's one of those things, you know,
We weren't going to go into politics.
yeah.
But,
Well,
okay.
I'm just explaining
The
unlimited
concept
liability.
of unlimited liability.
You know, it's like, and go, not necessarily technology, but the guns, right? If somebody gets shot, right, the person that gets shot or the family can sue the maker of the gun or the maker of the bullet.
So are you saying if my PC gets hacked, I can sue Dell or whoever
Right.
the machine is?
Right, it goes clear on back to,
My PC got a virus. Can I?
it's
Is
a
that-
very slippery slope, I think.
Yeah, I got to think that's not going to fly.
Let me take you down a path where you know we have some experience.
Yeah.
Last year, a company says we're going to update your computer to a new operating system.
Okay.
Okay. So everybody says, you know, I got to do it. I want to stay supported. I don't want my computer to be at risk. I need to stay up to date. So you go ahead and do it. And then a year later, they say, we're going to upgrade it. And they send out an anniversary update. And it's great. Look at all these new features. The menus are different. And then a month later, they send out their monthly updates, and it dies. It just breaks. Your machine is toast.
like
Yeah.
Apple has bricked a few of these in its time.
Where's the liability? Is it the manufacturer or is it the operating system company? And I'm not mentioning any names.
It depends on what the problem was, I guess.
If you're an enterprise and you have 1,000 devices and all of a sudden you're starting to notice that all of a sudden there are machines that are dying and you do your due diligence and research and you find out it's because that the manufacturer decided, yeah, we're not going to update the drivers on that.
Right.
And then
No
all of a
more- no
sudden you
more driver
realize
updates.
that you've got 600 out of your 1,000 computers
Oh.
that are going to die in the next. You're
Update.
like, don't do updates. We just told you, update.
Update, yeah.
Don't do the updates. It will kill you.
Yeah.
Or if you have equipment in a hospital like that, it might.
Well, okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, you know, it's
What
a
about
slippery-
all that stuff?
It's a slippery slope.
There's a lot of
I
that.
like that's a good question there. What about can a hospital get hacked? You know, with all of these smart things that they have now in the hospital?
Have hospitals ever been hacked? Yes.
See,
Have,
Well-
have banks ever been hacked?
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But imagine some kind of denial
have-
of service
Have
on a hospital.
uranium centrifuge
Turn
plants
off-
in faraway
Yeah.
countries.
Turn
ever
off
been hacked?
IV pumps.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know, would you imagine what would happen if a hospital was to get
The
some
concept
denial?
of a private network, and you talked about your controller,
Yes.
is where you have a network and it does only things
Inside.
and it is not connected to the outside world.
Correct.
There's another term for that, I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But power plants and other type of industrial control systems are based upon that.
Yep.
The military is supposed to be like that.
Right. Only-
It's its own network. And I think that's where you're going to see some technologies going to have that degree of separation. And I would say in health and safety, it needs to be. If you connect your water filtration system or the pumps at your sewage treatment plant to the internet, then your controllers and everything else better be secure because you have now offered it that way of getting
Right.
connected.
You've given yet another way to fail.
Yeah.
You know.
Somebody asked me, like, I don't understand this denial of service thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have a business at home and you answer the phone and you give people the time and temperature and tell them what the weather forecast is. But somebody comes to your house and they are checking the doors and they're checking
Yeah.
the bulkhead to the basement and they're seeing if the windows are up. Well, pretty soon, you're trying to answer the phone, but there's so many things going on where people are trying to get into your house and break into your house that you all of a sudden miss a call.
Right.
That's a denial of service. You can't deliver that web page
Right.
because somebody's trying to ring your doorbell and run away.
You can't answer quick enough.
But if they break
Right.
into your house because they find that one window they can get in, they go into the back hall and find out you have this board with all these keys on it,
Yeah.
and it's a key to your kid's house and the neighbor's house and everything. Now they're inside,
Right.
and that's the intrusion. They've
That's the
gotten
hack.
into the system.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is make sure that you haven't left one window. You haven't
That is-
unlocked every
you
door.
know.
That the bulkhead in the basement, there's not a loose board on the side of the house.
Right.
Is that a good analogy?
That is a good. That breaks it down, I think, very well, and
I've been working on that.
that's good. Absolutely, can't beat that. But yeah, I mean, you
talks in
can't.
such technical terms.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, we have to remember that how to translate this technology stuff into, for a better part, normal language, and to tell end users how to protect themselves, because we're in that field of education.
I've
Yeah.
hired a company to check my house and make sure it's secure.
Yeah.
There are companies that will do that. They'll do penetration checking. They'll test your windows, their doors, and you hire them,
Yeah.
and they say, yeah, you're secure. I have tested everything, and you're good.
Yeah.
You can try it yourself, but after a while, sometimes it's good to get somebody who's a trained professional.
But to get a fresh set of eyes on it, I think you're right. And you can hire people like that to go into businesses and see how far they can get.
Did you hear about the orangutan at the zoo that kept breaking out? And,
Yeah.
and all the orangutans would go down to the elephant, cage, and they'd be up there. They finally found out this guy had a paper clip or something in his lip,
Yeah.
and he figured out a way of getting that and putting it around the lock on the door and getting out to the mechanical room, and all the other orangutans would leave.
He figured out the hack.
He
Now,
figured-
how did he get the paperclip? That's the
So what's the
question.
moral of the story?
Check everything. That's a good. How can I say that?
Maybe next time we'll bring our tinfoil hats.
Oh.
Next time we're going to look towards Christmas.
Christmas.
Right.
We have
I
no
think
idea
Christmas
what's
is a
on
good
everybody's
topic.
Christmas list, but
Yeah.
we're going to check the news and find out what's coming up.
What's new in tech and what's cool.
Until next time, we'll see you.
Yeah,
Tech
thanks for
Talk.
watching.